God's chosen ones. You were hidden for a reason. Now God is ready to reveal you. Have you ever wondered why everyone around you seems to move forward, while you are stuck in a cycle of waiting that never ends? Have you questioned why your prayers seem to echo into a heaven that feels so silent you can barely breathe? Have you silently asked yourself why doors slam shut in your face while others waltz through theirs as if by magic? Have you wrestled with the aching suspicion that maybe you have been forgotten, not just by people, but maybe even by God Himself? Have you looked in the mirror and whispered, "Why am I invisible when I have so much fire inside of me?" If you have ever sat alone in the quiet of your room, tears soaking your pillow, wondering if your dreams were foolish fantasies meant to mock you rather than lead you into purpose, you are not alone. If you have ever felt like an afterthought in a world obsessed with the visible and the loud, know this: your hiddenness was never abandonment. It was divine strategy. You were not placed in darkness to be destroyed. You were hidden to be formed, to be strengthened, to be refined for something greater than the world could imagine. You see, the world only honors what it can see, but heaven treasures what it builds in secret. And if you have ever felt unseen, uncelebrated, overlooked, this message is for you, because the very silence that made you doubt your worth was the same silence heaven used to fortify your soul. You were hidden not because you were insignificant, but because you are significant beyond measure. If you have ever felt like you were buried under the weight of waiting, let me tell you, you were not buried, you were planted. And your season of revelation is closer than you think. If you have ever felt hidden, this video was made for you. When you gave everything, and silence was your only answer. There comes a moment when you fall to your knees, your heart breaking under the weight of words you can no longer find, and you whisper prayers into the night so raw, so desperate, that you expect the heavens to split open in response. But nothing happens. Just silence. The kind of silence that wraps itself around your chest and squeezes until breathing feels like a luxury you can no longer afford. You pray harder, you fast, you weep until there is nothing left inside of you but echoes, and still heaven remains silent. So still that you begin to wonder if your cries ever mattered at all. You question not just your prayers but your very existence. Was I ever heard? Was I ever seen? Or have I been speaking into a void, pouring out my soul to a God who has turned His face away? Then there are the days you work and work and work. You give every ounce of your strength, every spark of your creativity, every drop of your energy to dreams you believe were planted inside you by something bigger than yourself. You show up when no one else does. You stay late when everyone else leaves. You pour yourself out until you have nothing left to give. And you look around for even a sliver of recognition, a thank you, a nod, a doorway opening. But what you meet instead is a cold, indifferent silence. No one claps. No one notices. You begin to wonder if your efforts were ever real, if your dreams were a cruel trick played on you by hope itself. You feel yourself disappearing, piece by invisible piece, into a world that only seems to reward noise and spectacle, while you are swallowed by stillness. And then there is the love you gave away like a sacred offering, fragile and trembling, straight from your unguarded heart. You loved fully, without conditions, without defenses, without games. You trusted, you believed. You gave someone the key to the most vulnerable parts of you, believing they would hold it with trembling hands. But instead they shattered you. They abandoned you in the cold silence of your own bleeding hope. No explanations, no apologies, just the wreckage left behind for you to clean up alone. It wasn't just your heart that broke. It was your belief in goodness, in loyalty, in the idea that if you love purely, love will protect you. You sit in the ruins of trust, wondering if the pieces can ever be gathered again, if the silent spaces left behind in you will ever be filled. These are not just stories, they are real wounds, carried quietly by millions, maybe even by you. And what makes them hurt the most is not just the pain itself, it's the silence that follows it, the unanswered prayers that feel like rejection, the invisible labor that feels like erasure, the betrayed love that feels like annihilation. The silence after heartbreak is not an empty thing. It is a heavy, living presence that sits on your chest and whispers lies into your soul. You are forgotten, you are forsaken, you are abandoned. But what if that silence was never a verdict? What if it was a sacred pause? A divine hiding place where heaven was not ignoring you, but forming you. What if the very seasons that made you feel shattered were not meant to destroy you, but to shape you into something that could survive a destiny far greater than you had dared to imagine? The truth is, the moments when you felt most abandoned were often the moments when heaven was working the hardest on your behalf. Not to comfort your pride, but to purify your heart. Not to gratify your ambition, but to deepen your roots. Not to reward your surface efforts, but to rebuild you from the inside out, into someone who could carry the weight of the calling written into your DNA before you even breathed your first breath. If you have prayed until your throat ran dry and received no answer, it was not because you were ignored. It was because the answer required a version of you that was still being formed. If you have worked until your body ached and your soul sagged with exhaustion, only to see no harvest, it was not because you were cursed. It was because the soil of your life needed to be broken open before it could bloom. If you have loved until you bled, only to be betrayed, it was not because you were foolish. It was because your heart needed to be taught how to love with discernment, not just devotion. The silence was not God forgetting you. The silence was God forging you. And now the world that once overlooked you is about to see the fruit of what was built in the shadows. The prayers that seemed to evaporate into thin air have been stored in golden bowls in the throne room of heaven, waiting for the appointed time to pour out. The work you thought was wasted is about to bear a harvest so large it will silence the very voices that once dismissed you. The love you thought was lost has been reconstituted into a strength that cannot be broken again. There is a stirring in the atmosphere, a shift you can feel but cannot yet explain. You are not forgotten. You were never forgotten. You were hidden for a reason. And that reason is about to unfold in ways you never dared to hope. You were buried to bloom, not to die. In the dark, unseen places of the world, something extraordinary is always happening. Beneath the surface of the soil, where no eyes can watch and no hands can reach, a seed splits open in what looks like destruction. It breaks, it ruptures, it loses the form it once had, and in that violent tearing, life begins. Yet to anyone watching from above, it appears as if nothing is happening at all. Days, weeks, even months may pass without a single sign of growth breaking through the earth. To the impatient, it seems barren, wasted, dead. But beneath the silence, roots are growing strong, unseen, determined, anchoring deep into the soil, preparing for a destiny not yet visible. The seed must die to itself before it can live for its purpose. It must endure the weight of darkness before it can reach the kiss of sunlight. It must stay hidden until its roots can sustain its growth. If it bursts forth too soon, it will wither in the first heat of opposition. But if it waits, if it trusts the process, it will one day erupt from the earth in a triumphant bloom that the world cannot deny. You, chosen one, are that seed. Your hidden season was not punishment. It was preparation. Your silence was not a void. It was sacred soil. And your roots have been stretching deeper than you can imagine, anchoring you for the weight of the calling that is about to break forth in your life. And just as the seed knows the dark before it knows the dawn, so too does gold know the fire before it knows the crown. The goldsmith does not rush the process of refinement. He places the raw gold into the hottest part of the fire, not to destroy it, but to burn away everything that does not belong. Impurities rise to the surface, and only through intense, relentless heat does the gold become pure enough to carry its true value. The gold does not beg to be removed from the flame early. It does not protest the fire. It understands that the longer it stays, the more radiant it will be. The gold endures the process because it knows that the fire is not its enemy, it is its liberator. It is the agent that reveals its true worth to the world. You have been through fires hotter than you thought you could survive. You have felt the searing heat of trials, betrayals, and disappointments that seemed to melt away everything you thought you were. But the fire did not come to annihilate you. It came to purify you, to strip away the fears, the pride, the false identities, the counterfeit dreams, to leave behind something so brilliant, so rare, that heaven itself would recognize you by your reflection. The nights you spent weeping, the prayers you whispered into the void, the faith you clung to when nothing made sense, they were not wasted. They were the tools God used to forge in you a character that could withstand not just the blessing, but the weight of the influence that is coming. You were never being abandoned. You were being anointed. You were not forgotten. You were being formed. This silence you endured was not a rejection. It was a reverent hush, a sacred preparation. Heaven has been working behind the scenes, setting the stage, aligning the hearts, preparing the soil for your roots to break into a harvest that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. What you thought was a burial was a planting. What you thought was the end was only the beginning. There is a sacred timing to every harvest. No farmer plants a seed and demands fruit the next day. He knows that the earth must do its secret work. He knows the rain must fall, the winds must blow, the roots must wrestle with the deep for strength. Only then, when the seed has fought and survived the storms underground, does it burst forth with a life that no storm can uproot. You have survived the underground battles. You have wrestled with invisible giants. You have clung to faith when logic begged you to let go. And because you have stayed rooted, because you did not despise your hiddenness, you are about to bloom in a way that will leave no doubt that it was the hand of God who planted you there. The season of blooming is coming. You will look around you and recognize the fruit of every silent sacrifice. You will see doors swing open that once seemed welded shut. You will watch as relationships you lost are replaced with divine alignments you could never have orchestrated. You will witness the dreams you buried in mourning rise up with resurrection power. The very people who overlooked you will wonder how you bloom so suddenly, not realizing the long, hidden seasons of pain and preparation you endured. They will see the glory, but they will never fully comprehend the story, the weeping, the wrestling, the warfare that preceded the revelation. And when the world begins to marvel at your harvest, when your influence begins to extend beyond the borders you once thought would define you, you must remember: the root still matters more than the bloom. Stay grounded, stay surrendered, stay hidden in Him, even as you are revealed to the world. For your bloom is not for applause. It is for assignment. Your influence is not for vanity. It is for victory. And your voice is not for self-glorification. It is for the salvation of many. The season of blooming is not coming by accident. It is arriving because heaven has declared that you are ready. It is arriving because the prayers of generations before you have been poured into the soil you now stand on. It is arriving because your story, your scars, your song are needed for such a time as this. So prepare your heart, chosen one. The earth is about to recognize what heaven has known all along. You are not forgotten. You were hidden for a reason. And now, The time has come for you to rise. The darkness you survived was the dawn preparing to break. The season of waiting has passed. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle stirring in your spirit, like the first breeze before a mighty storm. After years of walking through invisible valleys, after countless nights where the heavens seemed sealed, something in the atmosphere is shifting. The silence you once knew so intimately is being pierced by a sound you almost forgot existed, the whisper of dawn breaking across your life. The darkness you grew used to is beginning to lose its grip. Look closely. The horizon, once swallowed by endless night, is now bleeding soft shades of light. Gentle streaks of gold and crimson are brushing against the edges of your soul, reminding you that no night, no matter how long, can resist the coming of the morning. The first rays do not shout their arrival. They emerge almost humbly, quietly, yet undeniably, signaling that the long vigil is over. There is a freshness in the air around your spirit now, a sacred inhalation of hope you didn't even realize you needed. Your chest rises differently, your heart beats with a new cadence. It is the breath of resurrection, the inhaling of a destiny once deferred but never denied. It's the soul's first gasp after being submerged for far too long. The rush of divine oxygen filling every depleted part of you. Can you feel it? Deep beneath the layers of survival and silence, your spirit is waking up to the truth it has always known, but dared not say aloud. Your time is here. The soil of your hiddenness has done its sacred work. The fire of your trials has finished its refining. The prayers you sowed in tears are rising in fragrant clouds to the throne of God, and the answers are riding on the winds of this new dawn. You are no longer waiting for heaven to notice you. Heaven has already been moving on your behalf. The hosts of angels, once standing watch in stillness, are now gathering, preparing, shifting, unlocking. Chains that once clung to your dreams are snapping with the quiet authority of divine command. Doors that mocked your persistence with their silence are creaking open, not by human hands, but by the decree of the King. The gates of heaven are opening over you. Do you understand the gravity of that? These are not the flimsy doors of human opportunity. These are ancient gates, carved by the hands that shaped galaxies, commissioned to swing wide when your preparation met your appointed time. You are not stepping into a manufactured breakthrough. You are stepping into a miracle orchestrated before the foundations of the world were ever laid. It feels surreal, almost foreign, after so many years of stretching your hands toward heaven with nothing but faith as your evidence. But the promise was never tied to your feelings. It was anchored in God's eternal faithfulness, sealed with His word, and fortified in your obedience. Every step you took in the dark was not in vain. Every tear you wept in isolation was not wasted. Every moment you felt forgotten was sacred soil, receiving the seeds of your future. The sky above your life is no longer heavy with silence. It is pregnant with rain, ready to pour blessings you cannot contain. The clouds are heavy with promises fulfilled. The atmosphere is thick with prophetic destiny. You are standing under an open heaven now, and the sound you hear in your spirit, that trembling, that urgency, that fire, is the sound of destiny calling your name. You are not the same person who entered the wilderness. You are not the same soul who questioned your worth in the midnight hours. The waiting has changed you. It has deepened you, sharpened you, stripped you of illusions and clothed you in truth. You are stepping forward, clothed in authority, robed in righteousness, crowned with resilience. Heaven did not forget you, chosen one. Heaven was preparing a table for you in the presence of every voice that doubted you, every circumstance that tried to bury you, every lie that told you your story was over. Heaven was weaving a tapestry behind the veil, a masterpiece stitched with every tear, every prayer, every whispered yes when no one was watching. And now, the veil is lifting. You are not entering this new season empty-handed. You are carrying wisdom born from wounds, authority forged in affliction, and a light that no darkness could extinguish. The weight you feel on your shoulders now is not heaviness. It is the mantle of destiny settling into place. It is the armor of purpose being fastened around you by unseen hands. Look again at the horizon. The light is not just peeking through, it is pouring over the landscape, saturating every barren place with life. Where there was once desolation, there is now green. Where dreams lay dormant, shoots of hope are breaking through. The very ground you thought had swallowed your calling has become the bedrock of a harvest that will not be stopped. You are breathing resurrection air now. Every inhale carries strength you thought you lost. Every exhale releases the ashes of former things. You are walking into rooms you once only prayed to enter. You are speaking words that carry weight you once could not bear. You are becoming the answered prayer, the living testimony, the walking miracle. Courage is rising in you. Fire is igniting behind your eyes. Authority is vibrating in your voice. And heaven itself is echoing your steps with a rhythm that shakes the very foundations of hell. No weapon formed against you will prosper. No lie spoken over you will stick. No delay will deny what God has declared. The time of wondering is over. The time of wandering is over. The time of hiding is over. The time of revelation has come. So breathe in deeply, chosen one. Let the air of heaven fill your lungs. Let the light of morning flood your soul. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into the fulfillment of everything God whispered to your heart in the secret place. The season of blooming is not a far-off dream anymore. It is here. And you, precious seed, are about to break through the surface and dazzle the world with the beauty only the darkness could have grown. Every forgotten one was once hidden by the hand of God. Have you ever wondered why Joseph, the beloved son clothed in a coat of many colors, was thrown into a pit by his own brothers? Betrayed not by strangers, but by the ones closest to him. Sold into slavery, stripped of his freedom. Dragged into a foreign land where his dreams seemed as shattered as the chains around his wrists. And yet, even when falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, even when imprisoned in darkness, Joseph clung to a hope larger than his pain. In the silent corridors of that prison, where no one applauded and no one saw, God was forging something unbreakable within him. Joseph interpreted dreams for others while his own dreams sat forgotten. But when the appointed time came, it wasn't an escape he received, it was elevation. Pharaoh summoned him from the prison to the palace in a single breath, and Joseph rose not just to survive, but to reign. Second only to Pharaoh himself, Joseph became the vessel through which God preserved nations from famine. The very pit meant to bury him became the beginning of a destiny too large for betrayal to destroy. And then there was David, a boy, overlooked even by his own father. When Samuel came to anoint a king from Jesse's sons, David wasn't even invited to the lineup. He was out in the fields, tending sheep, forgotten and dismissed. Imagine the long nights under a cold sky, singing songs no one else heard, fighting lions and bears no one else knew about. Yet it was there, in the forgotten places, that God was crafting the heart of a king. When the moment came and Goliath taunted Israel's armies, it was not the trained soldiers who stood firm. It was the shepherd boy whose courage had been tempered in obscurity. One smooth stone, guided by a hand familiar with faith, brought the giant down. And David's rise did not end there. Through betrayal, exile, and battles, he was refined, and when the crown was finally laid on his head, it rested on a man who had been shaped in secret, molded not by fame, but by faith. David became a king not because he was noticed, but because he was faithful when no one noticed. Then there was Esther, a young Jewish orphan, hidden in the folds of a foreign empire. She could have lived her life quietly, fading into the margins of history, but God had written her story differently. Chosen to be Queen of Persia, Esther was placed in a position she never campaigned for, never schemed for. Yet her hiddenness was preparation. When a decree went out to annihilate her people, fear must have clutched her heart. Speaking out could cost her everything. Silence could doom her people. But Esther, shaped by a life of quiet strength, stepped forward. She approached the king without invitation, risking death, propelled by courage born in hidden places. Her voice, once silent, shattered the schemes of evil, and her boldness saved a nation. She was crowned not merely to wear a title, but to fulfill a divine assignment only she could answer. 3 stories, 3 lives, 3 undeniable truths: Joseph, David, Esther. Each endured a season where the world seemed silent, where dreams seemed dead, where hope flickered against the winds of despair. And yet each emerged, not merely surviving, but reigning, not merely existing, but transforming the world around them. Their hiddenness was not punishment, it was preparation. Their isolation was not rejection, it was refinement. If you have ever felt buried under the weight of being unseen, unheard, uncelebrated, remember this: every chosen one in Scripture was hidden before they were revealed. Every vessel God used for greatness was first carved in obscurity. The darkness you have walked through was not the grave, it was the womb. You were not abandoned, you were being formed. You were not rejected, you were being reserved. And now, just like Joseph stepping from the dungeon, like David emerging from the fields, like Esther rising from obscurity to the throne, you are stepping into a moment that has been prepared for you since the beginning of time. The pain you felt was real. The loneliness you endured was sharp, but so was the shaping of your soul. You are not entering this next season empty-handed. You carry the weight of endurance, the fire of faith, the authority of one who has been forged in the hidden places. And when you step into the light, it will not just be you who rises. It will be every prayer you prayed, every seed you sowed, every tear you cried. They are rising with you. So take heart, chosen one. The season of being hidden was never meant to last forever. The season of preparation has come to its fullness. The season of revelation is upon you. What God has planted in secret, He is now ready to unveil in glory, and no pit, no rejection, no silence, no betrayal can stop what heaven has ordained. You were hidden for a reason. You are being revealed for a purpose. Your time is here. Their fire, their fall, their rise, and now yours. Tyler Perry sat alone in a beat-up car, homeless, broken, and unsure if his dream would ever breathe life outside of his imagination. Year after year, he poured his heart into stage plays no one came to see. He endured ridicule, financial collapse, and a loneliness that pressed on his spirit like a heavy stone. The world didn't recognize him. They laughed at the thought of a black man writing Christian-themed plays about hope and healing, but Tyler Perry refused to surrender. He kept showing up to empty theaters. He kept believing when logic told him to quit. And then, after years of silence and obscurity, the breakthrough came. One show, one weekend, one gathering of souls who saw the power in his work changed everything. From homeless to household name, from forgotten to founder of one of the largest film studios in America, Tyler Perry's journey is proof. It is not the applause of the world that determines your value, it is the anointing on your life that defines your destiny. He once stood exactly where you stand now, wondering if the pain had a purpose. It did. Viola Davis grew up surrounded by walls of poverty so thick that hunger was a daily visitor in her home. She tells stories of living in a condemned building, wrapped in coats to sleep because the heat was non-existent. School wasn't a refuge either. It was another battleground where ridicule and racism gnawed at her spirit. Viola didn't grow up hearing applause. She grew up fighting to survive. And yet somewhere deep within her, a flame flickered. Acting was not just an escape. It was a calling. A defiant shout against a world that tried to tell her she was invisible. She pursued her craft with a ferocity born of hunger, resilience carved by hardship. And when her moment came, she didn't just succeed, she redefined what success looked like. She became the first black actor to achieve the triple crown of acting, an Emmy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Viola Davis, who once navigated the bitterness of invisibility, now stands as a beacon to millions, reminding them that the places of your deepest wounding often become the soil of your greatest victory. She, too, once stood where you are, doubting, weary, but never abandoned. Helen Keller was struck by illness at just 19 months old, losing both sight and hearing before she even knew the fullness of language. Imagine that kind of isolation, the darkness not just around you but within. A prison with no keys, no voices to guide, no visions to comfort. Helen lived in a world of silence and shadow. Many believed she would be forever trapped, incapable of learning or communicating. But then came the miracle. Anne Sullivan, a teacher who refused to believe in impossibility. Word by word, touch by touch, Helen broke through the invisible walls. And not only did she learn to speak, she became a voice the world could not ignore. An author, an advocate, a symbol of what fierce faith and relentless determination can birth. Helen Keller, once hidden in an abyss no human applause could penetrate, became a lighthouse for millions, groping in their own darkness. She stood exactly where you stand now, on the edge of believing the silence would win until she decided it wouldn't. 3 lives, 3 journeys, 3 unbreakable truths. Tyler Perry, Viola Davis, Helen Keller. Different faces, different battles, but one common thread. Hiddenness was not the end of their story, it was the beginning of their becoming. Their obscurity was not a death sentence, it was a divine assignment. They endured the silence, the rejection, the invisibility, and emerged with voices so powerful the world had no choice but to listen. And you, chosen one, are no different. The loneliness you have felt, the nights where prayers seemed to echo back in empty rooms, the days you questioned if your life was being wasted, they were not in vain. They were sculpting you, refining you, forging a strength that surface-level success could never produce. Tyler once sat in silence. Viola once lived unnoticed. Helen once existed in darkness. They once stood exactly where you stand now, facing the crossroad between despair and destiny. The only question is, will you keep standing? Will you dare to believe that what feels like delay is actually divine design? That your breakthrough is not just a possibility, it is a certainty if you refuse to give up. The same God who walked them through their hidden seasons is walking with you now. The same hands that lifted them will lift you. The same light that broke through their darkness is preparing to break through yours. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not abandoned. You are being anointed. You are not invisible. You are being ignited. The stories you just heard are not accidents. They are living proof that silence does not mean absence, delay does not mean denial, and obscurity does not mean insignificant emotion. Chosen one, hold your ground, stay the course. Because soon, very soon, the world will no longer be able to ignore what God has been building in you all along. They stood where you stand now, and they rose. So will you. If you feel the stirring inside you, it's not by accident. And something inside you is stirring right now. If your heart is pounding louder than your doubts, if your spirit feels the fire awakening after a long season of silence, I want you to pause right here and claim it. Comment 777 or Amen below as your declaration that your breakthrough is not just coming, it is here, standing at the door of your life, ready to flood in with a power only heaven could send. This is not a small moment. This is the divine appointment your spirit has been sensing, the confirmation your prayers have been crying out for in the dark nights when no one else saw your tears. Your comment is not just a comment. It is a seed of faith, a public declaration that you believe God's promise more than your current pain, that you trust His timing more than your temporary trials. And as you do, know this: heaven is watching, heaven is celebrating, and heaven is moving. But don't stop there. If this message touched something deep within you, if it whispered life into the dry places of your soul, then I invite you to share this video, not just to spread content, but to sow hope. You never know who is quietly waiting for a sign that they have not been forgotten, who is silently wondering if God still has a plan for them. Your simple act of sharing could be the very spark that reignites someone's faith, that reminds them their waiting was not wasted. Chosen one, let's flood this world with the sound of hope rising. Let's be carriers of light. Comment, share, and step boldly into the season God has been preparing for you all along. You were never ordinary. You were a hidden answer. You are not random. You were never a coincidence, never an accident stitched into the fabric of this world. Long before your first breath, long before anyone spoke your name, God carved your identity into the walls of eternity. You were written in the divine archives of heaven, sealed with purpose, woven with intentionality, destined not simply to exist, but to shift the atmosphere wherever you walk. Every scar you carry, every tear you have shed, every silent prayer you have whispered into the night, none of it was in vain. It was all part of the holy design that brought you here to this very moment, standing on the edge of destiny. You are not just surviving, you are the answer to prayers that have been lifted up by generations before you. You are the living proof that God still moves through ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Somewhere right now, someone is crying out for hope, begging heaven for a sign that they are not forgotten. And what they don't realize is that you, yes, you are part of heaven's response. You are the miracle walking into broken spaces. You are the light piercing through someone else's darkness. You are the living, breathing evidence that God still answers prayers, still raises warriors from the ashes, still turns hidden ones into history makers. You are not a spectator in this life. You are a warrior, chosen by God Himself. You didn't stumble into this season, you were summoned into it. Heaven didn't randomly select you. Heaven commissioned you. You bear the fingerprints of divine power. You wear the armor of battles already fought in the secret places. You carry the wisdom of wounds turned into wisdom. When you rise, you don't rise alone. You carry 1,000 answered prayers on your shoulders. You step forward, not with empty hands, but with the sword of the Spirit in one hand and the shield of faith in the other. You were not called to blend in, you were called to stand out. You were not called to remain silent, you were called to roar with the authority of heaven. You were not an extra in the story, you are a central character in the unfolding of destiny. When God crafted you, He was solving a problem the world didn't even know it had yet. When He molded your heart, He was sculpting an answer the earth would desperately need. And now, chosen one, the world is ready, and so are you. You have been hidden, refined, strengthened for a time such as this. The long nights of loneliness, the seasons of unanswered prayers, the silent battles you thought would never end. They were never signs of abandonment. They were the training grounds of champions. They were the furnace that forged your faith. They were the sacred spaces where heaven whispered truths into your spirit that no applause could ever teach. It is not pride to know who you are, it is obedience. It is the boldness of a warrior stepping into the battlefield, fully aware of the authority stamped into their spirit by the Creator of the universe. You don't walk into rooms anymore wondering if you belong. You walk in understanding that the very ground you step on is blessed because you carry the presence of God within you. This is your commission. Walk like someone on a mission. Speak like someone who has heard from heaven. Move like someone whose steps have already been ordered. When you wake up in the morning, remember, hell trembles not because of who you were, but because of who you have become. Heaven rejoices not just because you survived, but because you are about to thrive. Your very existence is an act of warfare against darkness. Every time you refuse to shrink back, every time you choose to love anyway, every time you stand when it would be easier to collapse, you are fulfilling your mission. So now, breathe it in. Let it settle into your bones. You are not behind. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are right on time, exactly where heaven needs you to be. Every detour was divine. Every heartbreak was holy. Every delay was designed. You are not abandoned. You are anointed. Step forward, chosen one, not like a stranger stumbling through life, but like a carrier of divine purpose. Walk with your head high, not in arrogance but in sacred confidence. Move through the world like a warrior who knows their armor has been hand-forged by heaven itself. Speak with the fire of someone whose words have been soaked in the oil of the Spirit. You are a key to chains breaking. You are a catalyst for dreams awakening. You are a living, breathing sermon to those who have almost given up. You are a lighthouse for the lost. You are a voice calling out in the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord," and your voice, chosen one, will not be silenced. If you have ever doubted your significance, hear this now. You are irreplaceable. You are unrepeatable. You are necessary. God has placed within you treasures the world desperately needs, and He is calling them forth now. Do not hide, do not shrink, do not apologize for the weight you carry. It is heaven's investment in the earth. Chosen one, there is a fire in your bones that cannot be extinguished. There is a roar in your spirit that cannot be silenced. There is a light in your soul that darkness cannot overcome. This is your hour. This is your season. This is your divine unveiling. Heaven has declared it, hell cannot stop it, and the world is about to witness it. Step forward, not just as a believer, but as a bearer of destiny. Step forward, not just hoping, but knowing. Step forward, not just dreaming, but fulfilling. Your time is no longer approaching, it has arrived. Walk as one who carries the mission of heaven in your veins. The world has been waiting for what you carry, and heaven is now commanding you to release it. Your silent tears built the strength the world will soon see. There were nights when you cried so quietly that even the walls couldn't hear you. Nights when the weight of waiting felt heavier than any burden you had ever carried. Nights when you whispered into the darkness, asking if God had forgotten, asking if your prayers had been lost somewhere between heaven and earth. But what you didn't see then is what is being revealed now. Every tear you shed became a weapon forged in the fires of divine preparation. Every sob birthed a strength the world cannot explain. Every ache stretched your spirit wider, deeper, stronger than before. The nights you thought would break you were actually breaking open the reservoirs of resilience within you. In the silence, your soul was learning a language that only warriors understand. It was in the loneliness that intimacy with God was carved into the deepest parts of your being. When you felt abandoned by the world, you were being anchored by the hand of heaven. You didn't just survive those nights, you were weaponized in them, you were equipped in them. Your tears were not signs of defeat. They were the anointing oil preparing you for the battles you were destined to win. And what about the days, the long, endless days, when you waited and saw nothing move, when you sowed seeds of faith into barren ground and heard nothing but silence in return? Those days were not wasted. They were your training ground. Waiting was never meant to weaken you. Waiting was designed to strengthen you, the muscles of endurance, the sinews of perseverance, the backbone of hope. All of them were being forged in the invisible moments when nothing seemed to be happening. While the world mocked you for your patience, heaven was molding you for your purpose. While others rushed ahead, chasing applause and validation, you stayed still, rooted, stubborn in faith, clinging to promises that hadn't yet materialized. And now, because you waited when it would have been easier to quit, you carry a depth that shallow waters can never imitate. You carry a weight that cannot be bought, cannot be imitated. It was earned in the trenches of hope, deferred but not denied. You didn't just endure, you evolved. You didn't just hold on, you transformed. While you waited, heaven was arranging what no human hand could manufacture. Opportunities are aligning, divine connections are converging, doors are being commanded open by the voice of God Himself. And none of this is because you were the loudest. None of this is because you were the most seen. It is because you were the most faithful when no one was watching. Look back for a moment and see it clearly. Every tear, every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every lonely night, every weary day, they were not punishments. They were preparations. They were stitches in the invisible tapestry God was weaving for your life. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. Every moment had a purpose, and every purpose is now converging into a season unlike anything you've ever seen. You are ready. You are ready not because you never doubted, but because you chose to believe anyway. You are ready not because you never fell, but because you got up every single time the enemy tried to count you out. You are ready because heaven has declared you ready. Not in your own strength, not by your own merit, not by human validation, but by the anointing of the one who called you before you ever knew your own name. It is not by your strength that you rise. It is by His. It is not by your perfection that you walk forward. It is by His grace. It is not by your might that you break through. It is by His Spirit breathing life into your dry bones, setting fire to your weary soul, awakening the dreams He planted inside you long before you even knew to dream them. You were hidden, yes, but you were never forgotten. You were refined, yes, but you were never rejected. You were delayed, yes, but you were never denied. And now, the God who sustained you in the shadows is the same God who is calling you into the light. Hear it deep in your spirit. You are ready. Ready to speak what needs to be spoken. Ready to build what needs to be built. Ready to stand where others fall. Ready to love where others hate. Ready to move mountains with the mustard seed of faith that refused to die inside of you. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the time to second-guess what heaven has already confirmed. This is not the time to question the oil on your life. This is the time to step fully, freely, fiercely into everything God has ordained for you. To walk with the authority of one who has been through the fire and come out carrying the flame. You are not entering this season empty-handed. You are carrying every prayer, every cry, every silent hope like sacred weapons forged in the fire. And when you move, you will not move alone. You move backed by the armies of heaven. You move with angels assigned to your destiny. You move with the Spirit of the living God breathing life into every step you take. So take a deep breath right now. Feel the weight of His glory resting on you. Feel the shift in the atmosphere around you. Heaven is not waiting anymore. Heaven is roaring over you, cheering you forward, declaring that the time of hiding is over and the time of revealing is now. You are ready. Not because you are enough by yourself, but because the one who chose you is more than enough. You are ready. Not because you have it all figured out, but because you have chosen to trust the one who holds it all in his hands. You are ready. Not because you are perfect, but because you are perfectly placed, perfectly positioned, perfectly prepared by the hand of God himself. The nights of tears have become your weapons. The days of waiting have become your strength. The battles you fought in secret have become your credentials for public victory. Chosen one, you are not stepping into your future alone. You are stepping into it accompanied by the echoes of every promise God ever spoke over you. You are stepping into it carrying the torch of every prayer your ancestors ever lifted up. You are stepping into it wrapped in the favor that cannot be explained, only witnessed. You are ready. You are anointed. You are appointed. You are unstoppable, because the one who calls you is unshakable. This is not the end of your story. It is the explosion of the next chapter. It is the unveiling of what heaven has been preparing all along. Step forward, chosen one. Your time is now. I will no longer hide. The light has found its voice. I no longer hide in the shadows of fear or doubt. I no longer crouch beneath the weight of past mistakes or the heavy chains of unworthiness. I no longer shrink back when the battlefield roars or the critics grow loud. I rise, I stand, I move forward with the certainty of one who knows they have been handpicked by heaven itself. I lift my head, not in arrogance, but in holy confidence, because I know now what the waiting was for. I understand now what the silence shaped. I am no longer hidden. I am no longer overlooked. I have been revealed. For such a time as this, I am the light in the midst of a world grasping in darkness. I am the voice of truth when the noise of lies grows deafening. I am the hope that refuses to die in the barren places. I am the vessel, the torchbearer, the living proof that God still moves, still calls, still breathes destiny into dry bones and sets captives free. I am not here by accident. I am not summoned, sent, and sealed by the Almighty. I have been prepared through storms, refined through fires, and anointed through battles fought on my knees. I step out now with the power of the one who has chosen me, not timidly, not hesitantly, but with boldness burning in my bones and fire blazing in my spirit. I step out carrying every promise spoken over my life. I step out with authority because I know whose banner I carry. I step out with vision clear and feet steady, knowing that heaven backs every step I take in obedience. I no longer apologize for the light within me. I no longer tone down the call roaring through my soul. I am not here to fit in. I am here to shine. I have been appointed to disrupt darkness, to dismantle despair, to awaken dormant dreams. I have been equipped not with weapons of man, but with weapons mighty through God, truth, grace, righteousness, faith, and unshakable love. I do not need the validation of men when I have the affirmation of my Creator. I do not move by the applause of crowds, but by the assignment written into my DNA before the foundation of the world. I declare it boldly. I am no longer hidden. I am no longer waiting for permission. I am no longer asking if I am enough. I am chosen. I am appointed. I am equipped. I am here for impact, for freedom, for glory, not my own but His. I walk clothed in strength, wrapped in peace, crowned with wisdom, drenched in favor. I carry the torch of generations before me who prayed, who believed, who stood when it would have been easier to fall. I carry the dreams of those who never saw the fullness of their own visions, but knew in their spirit that someday someone like me would rise. And rise I will, rise I must, rise I already am. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night, every silent prayer, it was never for nothing. It was sacred preparation, holy ground. I do not curse the wilderness that raised me, I bless it. I do not resent the battles that bruised me, I honor them. I do not hide the wounds that taught me, I wear them as testimony, as evidence, as living proof that the God who calls is the God who carries. The time of hiding is over, the time of shrinking is past, the time of doubting has been buried with the old season. I stand now in a new day, a new anointing, a new authority. The former things have passed away. Behold, he is doing a new thing, and I am part of it. I am not just walking into destiny, I am running toward it with a heart on fire and eyes wide open. I no longer fear the cost, I no longer question the worth. I have counted the cost and found the mission worth everything. I have seen the valley and yet I still say yes to the mountain. I have known the silence and still I shout yes to the sound of my calling. I have felt the sting of betrayal and yet I still choose love. I have been overlooked, underestimated, misunderstood, and still here I am, alive, unshaken, undefeated. Because my story was never about me. It was about the one who was writing it all along. It was about the author and finisher of my faith. It was about the hands that molded me in secret, preparing me for such a time as this. And now, with all of heaven standing as my witness, I step forward into the fullness of my assignment. I carry the mantle with honor. I steward the light with humility. I protect the anointing with fierce devotion. Let every fear fall silent. Let every doubt be dismantled. Let every lie be exposed. I am here. I am chosen. I am moving in divine purpose. The world may not understand it. Some may resist it. Others may criticize it. But it changes nothing. The calling is irrevocable. The fire is unquenchable. The time is undeniable. And so, to every hidden warrior, to every silent dreamer, to every soul who thought they were forgotten, hear me now. Your time has come. Your voice matters. Your story carries power. Your light was meant to shine. You are the answer to prayers prayed in secret places. You are the fulfillment of promises whispered over generations. You are the one heaven has equipped and earth has been waiting for. I stand not in my strength, but in His. I move not by sight, but by faith. I live not for applause, but for impact. I exist to glorify the one who called me out of darkness into His marvelous light. And I will not shrink. I will not retreat. I will not remain silent when the world needs the sound of truth more than ever. So today, I make my declaration clear. I am no longer hidden. I am the light in a dark world. I step out now with the full authority of the one who chose me before time began. And to you, dear listener, dear chosen one, dear fellow warrior in the making, I bless you. I bless your rising. I bless your steps. I bless the work of your hands and the fire of your spirit. I bless your voice, your dreams, your journey. May you walk boldly into your destiny. May you shine brightly where the world tried to dim you. May you complete your assignment with passion, purpose, and holy fire. Go forth. Step into your moment. Shine like you were always meant to. Finish the race marked out for you, because you were never ordinary. You were never overlooked. You were never random. You are chosen. You are powerful. You are ready. Blessings upon blessings as you step out, shine, and fulfill your divine mission. Today, we have journeyed through a sacred reminder. You were never hidden to be forgotten. You were hidden to be formed, refined, prepared for a purpose greater than anything you could imagine. Your waiting was not wasted. Your silence was not punishment. It was the whisper of heaven, shaping you into a vessel of light, strength, and unstoppable faith. Now, your moment has come. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Your life carries a divine assignment that only you can fulfill. Let me ask you, what silent battles have shaped you into who you are today? What hidden seasons prepared you in ways the world could never see? I would love for you to share your journey in the comments below. Your story may be the very light someone else needs to find hope again. If this message stirred something deep within your spirit, I invite you to share this video with someone who might be standing on the edge of giving up. Be the spark that reminds them that their season of hiding was holy, that their breakthrough is closer than they know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We are building a sanctuary of truth seekers, of chosen ones, walking together through the awakening and into the fullness of our divine purpose. If you feel the stirring, the confirmation, the sacred shift inside you today, drop the number 77 in the comments. Let it be your public declaration that favor, protection, and spiritual awakening are being unleashed over your life from this moment forward. You were not just born to exist, you were born to impact. Your light is not random, it is revolutionary. Walk with your head high, knowing heaven smiles when you rise. Your mission is sacred, your influence is real. You are chosen for such a time as this, and nothing can stop the light you carry.